at Indiana. First and foremost, credit goes to them. They beat us. For us, obviously the first half did not go the way that we wanted. We can't have 3 turnovers and expect to win. We can't get off to a slow start and expect to win. That is not a good formula or not a good recipe in order to have success. That's not going to work, so we have to get that fixed. At halftime, I challenged our guys to go out on that field and make sure we fight, scratch, claw until that whistle, until that horn sounds, and we'll see what the scoreboard says. So I was proud of the way our guys competed in the second half. There's no moral victories. I know that. We know that. But I am proud of the way that they continue to fight, scratch, claw, even though the second half started the way it did with a 79-yard touchdown pass. It could have easily deflated our guys, and we could have hung it up. That did not happen. We competed our tail off for 4 quarters. Yes, disappointed, because anytime you have an opportunity for a statement game, and I look at that as a statement game. Yes, Ball State had won the last 3. Disappointed that we didn't win Saturday, but we've moved past that. You know, it's about Eastern Kentucky now. It's our home opener. A lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm. That loss will not define us. Everything that we want to accomplish is still right in front of us. We'll learn from our mistakes. We get on the practice field tomorrow. Our guys that set it themselves, which is a good thing, that, hey, when you get back in this building, you be ready to go to work on Tuesday. I don't have to say that. Our guys, our senior players have said that. So we anticipate having a great week of practice and getting on the field Saturday.
Coach, what are some things that you can look at from the IU film and say, we did that well, and that'll translate to the MAC?
Well, I think just if you just look at our effort, our guys, you know, start with the defensive side of the ball, guys flying to the football. Guys, you know, we had 4 sacks in the game, so if you just talk about pressure, that's a positive thing. Our guys got some heat, and we, you know, obviously that translated over to some sacks. We did give up. If we can eliminate those 4 big plays, you know, we had 2 big plays in the passing game, 2 big runs, if you will, that those 4 plays resulted in 200 yards of offense. So if we get rid of those, which we can, we had a couple missed tackles, and then we had a bust in coverage. So we eliminate those things, which I know we will. That's a positive to me. And then you look offensively. You know, I think, you know, we ran the ball against a stout team. You know, I don't remember what our rushing, I don't know what we finished with, but, you know, our guys still put up, our offensive line got a good test because it was a bigger group on the defensive line, and we were still able to run the ball effectively. But we got to get off to a good start. You know, it's all about that for us. Obviously, the first drive of the game, turnover, we can't have that. And, you know, I think special teams play here has been very solid all along. And for us to get that block punt and end up scooping, scoring right there, that was a big momentum shift for us that gave us a shot in the arm to finish off the game.
Well, both of your games so far, you've gotten off to poor starts. Mm-hmm. Common denominator there, something you see in the film? Or
no, I think they're two, you know, if you just, obviously they're both turnovers on the first drive of the game. Last week it was a pick 6. This week it was a fumble. So that would be common in that the first drive of the game, third play seems to be, this week on the third play, maybe we just take a knee so we don't have a turnover. But no, in all seriousness, you got to just make sure that, you know, everybody's into it. It's not a, you know, something that, you know, you just have to get off to a good start. We have to emphasize the things that have presented themselves in the game. We have to work ball security and practice every single day, make sure our guys are taking care of the ball. But, you know, maybe you defer this time. Put your defense out there first. What about that? But because I'm an aggressive guy by nature, and obviously you win the coin toss, you want the ball. You want to play with the lead. That's always my mindset. Let's score and play with the lead. That's all I think about, is scoring and playing with the lead. Obviously, the last 2 weeks we put our defense in a tough spot. They've weathered the storm. They've been awesome, but we'll get that fixed.
Now, scheduling-wise, you've played a comparable team. You played a Power 5 team. Now you play an FCS team. So you've run the gamut there. What's your philosophy on scheduling as you put these games 4 and 5 years in advance?
Well, if my
together?
opinion is asked, I give it. But, you know, really, I don't get myself really wrapped up in scheduling. We'll play whoever is on our schedule, and I mean that. You know, that's for those above me, Mark Sandy. We'll make that decision, and if he asks for my input, certainly we can have a conversation. But at the end of the day, that's his decision, and we'll play whoever, you know, whatever benefits our university the best, and whatever that may be, we'll play whoever's on our schedule.
Other questions? Obviously, Corey Lacanaria sat out the second half against IDU. Do you have a status update on him?
Don't really, other than he missed the second half, and I think he's just a day-to-day right now as this week gets ready to get started. So hopefully he'll be in the lineup for us this Saturday. But, if for some reason he can't go, then we'll get the next guy up ready to go, and we'll be fine.
Was it his ankle?
Shoulder.
But it was his ankle.
Before, yeah, he had an ankle that he had dealt with from, that he tweaked in camp that kind of limited him. So he's over that, and he just kind of, tweaked his shoulder. But he's going to be fine. We'll just have to see how quickly he can get back on the practice field as we get ready to game plan.
One guy who seemed to kind of get a lot of reps in his place in the second half was Damon Hazelton. Can you just speak on him and kind of what he's shown you in camp and in practice that has allowed him to get on the field as a freshman?
Yeah, I think Damon's one of those guys that, he's further along than some of the other guys at his position that came in as freshmen. I think, he showed us very early in camp. He was making some plays and just showed that the stage was not too big for him. Some guys, you worry about them when they come in as freshmen. Are they physically ready? Well, Damon's physically ready. Some of them you worry about, are they mentally ready? Well, Damon showed us that, we put him in some different positions in camp, and he was able to handle that mentally. So I think that's why you see him on the field. His role will continue to expand here because he's a talented young guy that, for a guy his size to be as explosive as he is pretty impressive. So his role will expand here as we get going.
Along those same lines, Malik Dunner, another young guy that's kind of broken into the rotation,
Right.
And you've got a wealth of running backs. Why has he been able to do that, and what's he bring to the table?
Well, I think obviously, watching the game on Saturday, you can see the kind of speed that Malik has and the speed, the burst, the explosiveness, that he's that guy that can get a touch and take it the distance. He was slowed in spring just because of an injury, but he's back full speed in camp. And I love our running back group. We got 4 guys at the running back position that can play on any given snap, and we're going to have those guys on the field in 30 personnel at the same time because I think that highly, and our offensive staff thinks that highly, that group of guys. And in addition to being great players, they're great guys. They're the right kind of character. They're the hardest workers in practice. They're the hardest workers in the weight room. They're taking care of business academically. And those are the kind of guys you want to see on the field when you're going to battle on a Saturday. And that group of guys is going to continue to get a lot of snaps because they're unselfish. They're total team guys, and that's the kind of guys we want.
Coach, you talked some earlier about the big plays that IU had.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed like the defense looked pretty strong throughout the game, but if you don't have those big plays, maybe the game looks a little bit different. Just wondering, do you chalk those up to mental mistakes? What do you kind of look at there to correct those?
No, they weren't mental mistakes. It was aggressive mistakes. Our guys, coming downhill to tackle, and a couple of them just had a missed tackle where they got to the second level and got a big play. The 179-yard, it was a tight end blocking. Tyree was getting out of it. It was an aggressive mistake where they, out leveraged us and went down the sideline. So they're not alignment or mental mistakes. It's just more so aggressive mistakes, and we got to, continue to preach fundamentals in practice with tackling and all that, and we'll get that fixed. That's not a concern of mine at all. Those are aggressive mistakes, and those guys, they're not the guys that you would expect to repeat those mistakes.
Sure. I wanted to ask too, after Georgia State, we talked a lot about the offensive line, huge rushing performance. The stats are obviously a little bit different from IU, but what did you kind of think of their performance against the Hoosiers this
I
week?
thought they did a good job against Indiana. You're going against 2 different defensive fronts from the first game against Georgia State to the Indiana game. These guys are a little bit bigger, obviously, so I thought our guys did a great job. We still had good rushing numbers. I thought they were very good in protection. We had the 1 sack that was definitely not their fault. The pressure was mis-ID'd by the quarterback. So those guys did a nice job. I'm very pleased overall with 2 games where our offensive line plays at the confidence level. They know, especially for those 3 guys playing either for the first time or a new position with both guards, and then Vinny Palizzetti at center. Those guys are, I know they're only going to get better, and I like where they're at right now.
Sure, and then you mentioned this before as well, but with the pressure from your defense, I guess 4 sacks, several tackles for loss, I think 6. That Ball State didn't create a ton of pressure last year. How big is that going to be for you guys, just being able to create that up front?
Well, I think that's our guys. buying into how we practice. We practice fast. We push them from a conditioning standpoint in practice. And I think they're seeing the results pay off. And they know if they just play within the scheme of things that they'll be set up for success with our scheme and how Coach Doust, how our defensive staff prepares those guys. So I expect that to continue because I think I look at our front four on the defensive line, and I feel very good about those guys. Not only the two edge guys, but the two inside guys too. I think we got some guys that can create some pressure, not only against our opponents we just played, but in our conference too. And I like where we're at defensively. I already feel great about the three senior linebackers. So I'm encouraged. I expect that just to continue and get better.
Sure, and then I wanted to ask too about the response you saw from the guys like Corey with the early fumble, James Gilbert there at the 3-yard line. What did you kind of see from those guys afterwards? Do you think they responded well? Do you see kind of what you wanted to coming from a mistake like that?
Oh, I did. And listen, those guys made some big plays as the game unfolded. They're both – nobody feels any worse about those two fumbles than those two guys. Yes, I got after pretty good on the sideline, but yet, when they got their number called and they were back in there again, those guys had some productive plays and did some good things throughout the course of the game. So, it's just one of those that – at all times, you can't let your guard down. You never know. You don't have eyes in the back of your head. You don't know when somebody's behind you or when a ball could get knocked out. And James, he's running through traffic. It's down there. Those red zone yards are tough to come by. When you're inside the 5, you're running into a concrete wall and you're just trying to create a surge where you're getting some movement into the end zone. So, James is not one of those guys that's ever had that's never showed itself in practice before. So I'm not worried about that.
Sure, and then just in practice and moving forward, what can you do to talk about ball security, not making those mistakes, and just trying to get that established, I guess, in guys' minds?
We work a ball security circuit every week with all players, not only the running back, but the receivers, the tight ends, anybody that could potentially have the ball in their hands. So we work that every week, making sure the ball's carried high and tight. We hit them with bats, or we take them through a human gauntlet, if you will, where you got guys trying to strip it from them. So we just have to emphasize that more than one day in practice. We'll emphasize it every day in practice and make sure it gets the attention that it needs. But at the same time, sometimes you can, take something like that and you can harp on it a little bit too much to where it becomes a concern where it's not something that's presented itself with those guys before. So we have to practice it and yet be confident it's not going to show up again.
Coach, through 2 weeks, EKU's used 4 quarterbacks. I think 12 guys have a carry. When a team has that much personnel, how do you kind of adjust your preparation?
Well, if you just look at the Purdue game, both of the quarterbacks got injured in the game. One, Matty Mock started the game, the young man that transferred from Missouri. He was injured. From my understanding, it was an arm injury. Don't know all the details of that. And then the second quarterback in that game had a concussion. So both of those guys were out for this game against Pikeville. And they started a redshirt sophomore. So, it's one of those we'll look at the tape. We'll be ready for whoever, they put in the game. I mean, from a scheme standpoint, we kind of know what they want to do. Yes, they present different things as quarterbacks. One's more of a runner than a thrower, but they're all at some point in time, going to have the ability to pull it down in the zone, read stuff, and run. So we'll be ready for whoever's in there, and certainly we'll pay attention as the week unfolds here about the injuries and who's available to play.
Coach, going back to your receiver group a little bit, Kevon hasn't had a huge game by any means, but it seems like he's been just really solid through 2 games. What have you seen from him so far?
Yet. Kevon's been exceptional through 2 games. We got to get the ball in his hands more. He's explosive. He's a playmaker. He's got that look in his eye on the sideline. You can tell that, there's players that you can look at their face and just know that, man, give it to me. I need it. I want the ball in the right way, not in an unselfish manner. He's not in a selfish manner at all. He's a total team guy, but you can just see the look in his eye that, well, he's ready for this. Obviously, this is his senior year, and he wants to have a great year. But Kevon's one of those guys that we got to get the ball in his hands as many ways as possible, whether it's through the air, whether it's on the ground, with a rush or some of the jet stuff that we did against IU. But we got to get the ball in his hands because he's that explosive.
Mm-hmm. And with Riley, seemed like he was a little off balance, I guess, in the game against IU too. How do you go about kind of getting him more in a rhythm early so he can get off to a better start?
Just got to get him settled down. I've told people this. It's not a secret. When you're 2 games in your sophomore year, last year when he played as a true freshman, probably wasn't a lot expected of him. He was just out there playing, just having fun, just letting it fly, letting it loose, playing relaxed. Well, fast forward to your sophomore year, there's an off season of build up, anticipation, maybe reading the newspaper a little bit that this is the guy now at Ball State. Well, when you want something so bad, when you want it so bad, then you happen to go on the field sometimes and you just play a little bit tighter than you would if you were just relaxed, confident, calm. So he's going to be just fine. He's going to be just fine. He was off to a good start. He hit 5 of his first 7 passes the other day. We just had, the fumble, and then, we had the 2 fumbles, and then in the second quarter there he threw an interception. So we got to eliminate the interceptions. But Riley's going to be fine. Like I said, you just got to get him to relax and play and not feel like you don't have to do it all by yourself. That's the beauty of our defense right now and our running game. That's a great feeling as a quarterback, knowing that you have those 2 things that are playing well right now, and so it allows you to just relax and not feel like you have to do anything. He doesn't have to do anything special. Just run the offense, and we'll be just fine.
Dakota mentioned the sacks and the tackles for loss. Wimbush had a forced fumble in the Georgia State game, and it seemed like he was in the backfield a few times against IU. How has he graded out on film through the first 2 games, and what has he impressed you with since you've been here?
Man, I'll tell you what, I don't know of too many guys that can bend the corner like he can. When you come as a pass rusher and you got an offensive lineman, and you're an offensive line coach, you're trying to work with your guys all the time about playing with good knee bend. But when you're a guy like Wimbush that can turn the corner and get your pads down, that's tough to deal with when you don't break stride and you can run that loop like that. That's why you see defensive line coaches put those loops out on the field and they have them run. If you can run that loop and you can run at full speed without slowing down or out looking, man, Anthony Wimbush can do that. And that's the thing that I think you see out of him. He makes it tough in the 3rd, 4th quarter for an offensive line. When you're fresh, and we condition a ton in practice, in training camp, and I try to tell those guys all the time, when you're in 3rd, 4th quarter and you're fresh, he has to have perfect technique in order to slow you down. And I think you see Anthony, his ability to turn the corners is as good as any I've been around.
Going back to Eastern Kentucky real quick, did you say you've already been able to watch film on them a little bit?
Quite a bit.
And what you talked about their quarterback situation, but what else kind of stands out about them?
Well, they got a new coaching staff, so obviously they're 2 games into their tenure, if you will, there. But they've got some kids that have transferred into their program. There's a corner from Texas Tech. There's obviously the quarterback came from Missouri, so they've got some kids that have transferred into their program. So they're very skilled. They've got a lot of, they've got some athletic ability, obviously. So they're a good program. If you just look, they've had some good years there. And even though these guys are a good opponent for us. It's going to be a good challenge at home here. And depending on how the quarterback situation shakes out, we'll be ready for whoever. But for us, it's as much about us cleaning up our mistakes and going out and playing with confidence and getting off to a good start as much as anything else.
Coach, what's the recruiting plan for this Saturday? Will you have a bunch of recruits here on campus?
We will. Yeah, we will. Can't really comment a ton about that or any, obviously, names or anything like that. But, yeah, every time we have an opportunity, every time we have a home game, we'll have recruits here and have an opportunity to show off our new facility here, which is awesome with the graphics up now. This place is unbelievable. So we'll have the recruits in with their families, as we will for all the home games, get a chance to get to know them on a personal level, have them see us play, see what we're all about, the kind of atmosphere that we have here, and then, of course, show off our facilities.
All right, and the red helmets get debuted this week. Is that the coaching staff that puts that together, or do you talk with the players about? How does that all come about?
Well, I knew that obviously, you have a budget that you work with every year, and with the permission of Mark, I wanted to add red helmets. You get a red helmet, you get a white helmet, you get a black helmet. And if you're able to rotate those, we all know that right now that uniforms are big, not only for your school and for your university, but also when recruiting. And you can have different decals on your helmet and give the helmet a totally different look. So for us, it's an opportunity to have a red helmet. A lot of guys are excited about that. But anytime we have a uniform decision to be made for the game, the 4 captains are involved in that decision. I am not a designer. I'm lucky that what I have on now matches. I hope it matches. But I allow our guys to have input in that for what we wear, because this is their team. This is our university, and those guys need to take a ton of pride in that, and they do. And so we're excited about wearing red helmets here for the first time, and going to be a nice little buzz and exciting atmosphere.
Do you know how much a helmet costs? Like when you order a helmet, like
Oh yeah.
like how much? Like how much
You
did
just
that
talking
cost?
about ordering helmets. I'm not going to disclose that, but yeah, I mean, obviously that's what goes into it. But helmets, when you order helmets to outfit a college football team, and you're talking about 100+ helmets, there's a
big
price tag on
chunk.
that. Yeah.
All right. And Lacanari's backup, if he can't go, who would fill?
So Jordan Hogue's been a guy that's played all the receiver positions. So you can see Jordan, between Jordan, Devin Reese, and Damon Hazleton, those guys will all be in there. And we pride ourselves in being able to move all of our receivers around just so we can get the best 3 on the field at a time. So you'll see Jordan move in there and play some in the slot now, but you'll see other guys also play in the slot. We try not to just have one guy in there.
Switching gears, did you have a chance to watch the New Orleans Saints and Willie Snead yesterday?
I did, man. I just saw the end of the game. I did not see the whole game. I know Willie had 9 for 172. That's Willie, man. You talk about hard work paying off. There's no better example than Willie Snead. Nobody works any harder in practice. Nobody works any harder in the meeting room. And just to see the relationship that he has with Drew Brees and to see that pay off for him, and it's exciting to see that. You know, he's a great representative of our program. And our university. Couldn't be more proud of him. I wish they would have won that game yesterday, but Willie's a stud and a class act.
Is that something you talked to him specifically? Is he somebody you talk to your team a lot about?
Well, hopefully you've had an opportunity to see, you know, our building here now. There's a huge picture, a huge graphic that between the 2nd floor and the 3rd floor of our building here, it says True Cardinal, and the picture is Willie Snead. And there's a lot of things that go into being a true Cardinal. And Willie would be the most relevant guy to our program that all kids would know, that maybe everything didn't start out easy for him here, but he's a prime example through hard work, through being relentless, through being accountable, through getting your education, preparing for life after football, expecting to win, believe to achieve. Willie Snead is that guy that deserves to be on that graphic in our building because he embodies all of those qualities that you look for. I tell all of our kids right now, you're a Cardinal. You're a Cardinal because you're part of our program. By the time you graduate, you'll be a true Cardinal because all those qualities that make up a true Cardinal, you will have all of those by the time you leave here with your degree and a championship.
One final question for me. It's been 20 years since you've run out of the Schumann Stadium tunnel onto the field, and obviously Saturday, I don't want to make you seem old or anything. Saturday you'll have a chance to do that. What do you anticipate that moment being like for you?
Well, 10 years ago when I was a player, that was exciting, you know, not 20. Yeah, I thought about it. Sure, I've thought about it. I mean, just to have a chance to come back and to lead your alma mater out on the field, but just like I told the guys last week, man, when the smoke settles and the dust clears, there's a game to be played. It's not about me. You know, my job now is to lead our program to wins and graduate young men of high character so that they can go make a difference in our world. So it's a challenge for me. I embrace that challenge. I expect to win. That's my job here, in addition to helping young men, you know, take advantage of their, you know, skills both on the field and in the classroom so that they can get their degree. But I'm excited about that. There'll be a lot of excitement coming out of the locker room on Saturday to take the field, and I'll be ready to get the kickoff here.
All right, well, thanks, Coach. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely.